Hello and welcome. In this video, we are going to take another look at our P6 practice, and specifically, we are going to take a look at the version of our P6 that focuses on importing values from a CSV file and ultimately putting them into an array of structures and searching them in conjunction with keeping a basic inventory management application. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to take a look at the copy product function in this particular video. We've seen a version of a copy function in other videos, and particularly the process is the same. The only real difference is which features are available in your structure. So the idea here is I want to be able to pass to it a source structure that should not be changed, and then a destination structure that will, in fact, ultimately be updated. Notice in this case, I am, for consistency's sake, passing both of them by address. You could technically pass the source not by address or by val and accomplish the exact same thing. So let's go ahead and jump down here to our copy product. About the only thing that we need to do in this particular case is to make sure that neither the source nor the destination are null. If they are null, then we would not be able to do anything about our copy in this particular case, because we're dealing with static memory, statically declared memory rather. But even if we were dealing with malloc and realloc, or dynamic memory allocation, because of the way that we are passing these structures, we would not be able to easily change them. So let's go ahead and check to see if our source is equal to null. And if so, then we provide a print statement. Error, please provide a valid source, followed by a new line. And then again, our results are simply going to be equal to exit failure. Under the else if branch, we will do the same thing now with our destination, and we'll check to see if that is equal to null, and then follow that up with a print statement that says, error, please provide a valid destination. And then again, results equal to exit failure. At this point, let's go ahead and build it to make sure that we don't have any typos. So far, so good. And then under the else branch, essentially what we're going to do is we're going to copy field by field. Now, technically, this does introduce the possibility of having null values again for one of our fields. But again, because of the way that we've declared these structures and because of the way that we are passing them, that should not be a problem. You would, however, want to consider some additional error checking for your fields. Now, the good news is we've actually kind of seen this already a couple of times, and a very similar example to this is actually in our import function, with the big difference being that we are leveraging individual variables to capture the results from our fscanf. In this particular case, what we're going to do is we are again going to start off with the simpler fields, and what I'm referring to are the numeric values, and then we'll go back and handle the strings. So ultimately what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to leverage that destination, and by default then, if I use the dot and then autocomplete, you'll notice that it automatically corrects me. Now, what's actually going on here is, remember that I'm passing to this function the address of a structure. And essentially what we want to do is we want to dereference the address of the structure so that we can access the field inside that structure. So in this case, I want to access the price field inside the destination structure, but since I'm passing it by address, we can't use the dot notation. However, other than that, the process is pretty much the same. In other words, what I want to do now is I want to do the same thing by reaching into the source. And again, I'm just simply going to use the dot notation here just to see how NetBeans will automatically switch it over for us. And we're going to again see that it switches us to the dash and then the greater sign of the arrow, however you want to think of it. And we want to access the price field. So I'm going to put a little note here that essentially this gets converted to this, the arrow. All right, so at this point then, I think you can probably see what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to go ahead and do this myself now with the dash and the greater than sign of the arrow. We'll do the same thing now with the quantity. And essentially what is happening here is field by field, I am copying the data over. Now, I said this works great for numeric values, but remember that with strings, we have to use the string copy function. And so same process, except we're going to use the string copy function on the fields that are going to be strings, or rather that are strings. And so again, if you pull up the string copy function, you'll see here, well, I was hoping to get, there we go, the interactive help here, but for some reason it is, I was going to show it to you. There we go. There we go. All right. So the first character gets passed is the source, and the second one is the destination, or rather, excuse me, the first one is the destination, the second one is the source. And so in this particular case, then what we want to do is we want to specify which field we wish to copy to. We'll start off with the ID, and we will pass to it the source ID. We'll do the same thing now with the destination name. And again, notice how I'm using that dash greater than sign or the arrow, but effectively the only difference here is that I'm using string copy instead of a simple equal sign. So destination type, and then source type. And then lastly, we have to worry about the description. And then description. Now, unfortunately, this particular function is not going to be real easy to test in isolation without setting up a couple of products. In other words, one that you can import into, or rather that you can set up with values and copy over to another one. So let's go ahead and go up to our main and attempt to test this. I'm going to go ahead and build this. And then I'm going to come up here to main, and I'm actually going to create a temporary switch. So I'm going to call this one beta. So else if argc is equal to 2 and string compare I of my argv square brackets 1 is going to be slash beta. And if that's equal to 0, then basically this is a test area. And this is very useful in helping us develop features in our application as we go along. And specifically what I want to do is I want to create 2 products. My autocomplete's having a little bit of fun with me there. One of which I'm going to call source. And the other one I'm going to call destination. And the idea here is with the source, I'm going to go ahead and populate some of the fields. Now, remember, I would love to be able to do something like this. I'm just going to call this ID 099. But again, remember, that's not going to work. And instead, what I have to do is use my string copy. And I want to copy into the source ID, ID 99. I'm going to do the same thing using string copy for the name. And in this case, I'm just going to call it sample. For the type, why don't we put this in as a drink? For the description, we'll just put it in as something. And then the rest of the fields rather are not strings. So in other words, we can get away with doing the source.price. Let's make this one 99 cents and the source.quantity equal to 100. Now, the idea here is that I have set up the default values for my source. And now what I want to do is I want to test that I can copy these values to my destination. Well, the way we do this is we simply leverage our copy product, and we specify the source and the destination. However, remember that we need to pass these by address in both cases. And at this point, then, what we need to do is we simply need to check that we have been successful at copying over the features or the fields, and we can leverage our own display product on our source as well as the display product on our destination. Now let's go ahead and build it. We don't have any errors. I'm going to go ahead and come out to my command prompt. Let's go ahead and clear the command prompt so we can see if we have anything wrong here with a little less noise. I'm going to change my switch now to my beta switch. And you can see here that I have now been successful at creating the source. Looks nicely formatted based on our display product function. And we also have our destination. Now, just a point, or rather something to point out, is that in certain cases, you may not actually want to copy the ID. In some cases, you may actually want to auto-generate a new ID so that there's not any conflict. And that's a topic for another video and part of a larger topic rather. But at this point, you can see here is effectively just copied field by field from one structure in memory to a second structure in memory. So hopefully you found this video useful, and quick reminder that you can always just throw in an extra switch here for features that you are working on, or you can simply build another application in its entirety. However, this is pretty convenient because now basically I can simply comment and uncomment this as I wish to test new beta features. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And thank you for watching.